Hello, I'm here with Owen Moore, BeWhere Holding Inc., symbol BEW on the Venture Exchange and BEWFF on the OTC. And the reason we're here today is because Owen has created and his company have created something entirely unique in the IoT space, where his very low-cost units are able to connect directly to the new ASTS satellite network. And Owen's going to explain to us the real import of this new innovation. So Owen, thank you for joining me today. And I'm going to give you the floor here for 3 or 4 minutes to really kind of give us the setup of what was happening before your achievement here and what you see as the game plan going forward and how this market's going to open up with your new product.
Excellent. Well, thank you for having me on today, Keith. I certainly appreciate it. It's exciting times in the wireless technology field. AST Space Mobile is completing a constellation of satellites that traditionally have been discussed around providing broadband connectivity for any cell phone wherever you happen to be in the world, whether you're within cell coverage or within remote areas. The thing that we did completed last week and announced just yesterday is we took one of our commercial IoT asset trackers that leverages low power 5G technology, and we successfully connected that to the AST Space Mobile network and transmitted our asset tracking data over that network through Bell's landline network into our AWS servers and provided that information in our application. To our knowledge, this is the first time a low power 5G asset tracker has been connected to AST Space Mobile's constellation of satellites. And the importance in the industry is that our price points are already among the lowest in the market. They were traditionally limited to cellular traffic, cellular transmission within cellular coverage. And as the constellation of AST's network gets filled out, this will provide ubiquitous coverage for our clients. They will be able to leverage hardware that they've already deployed in the field, and it'll bring the price points down for satellite asset tracking significantly from where that's been historically. The satellite asset tracking market is recognized to be somewhere between $6 and $12 billion annually, and as you reduce these price points, we're going to see that addressable market just expand even more rapidly. You know, as you reduce the price points of the product and the solution, it opens up a larger number of assets and lower valued assets to be tracked, and I think that's what's generating the excitement about the news that we put out yesterday.
So I heard two things here. One is that you've created this new connectivity on a very low-cost device that opens up more TAM and functionality. But two, your existing client base doesn't need to buy a new piece of equipment for this. This works on your existing hardware that you've already got deployed out in the field. Is that what I heard correctly?
That's correct. AST is backwards compatible. It communicates with our cellular module in our device without any expensive satellite technology. That's the beauty of AST's technology, backwards compatible.
So you've been in business now for many years, and you've deployed in total how many devices out there in the worldwide field now?
Yeah, we've sold, we're approaching 500,000 devices that we've sold since about late 2018 when we launched our first low power 5G asset tracking product.
And so all your distributors now have all this new information, and again, it's all about price point, is what I'm hearing. You've said before that your client base is very price sensitive.
Listen, bringing the price points down is an effective mechanism to disrupt an existing market. That's what we did, you know, 6-7 years ago when we launched products leveraging low power 5G. Low power 5G modules were significantly cheaper than earlier generations. It supports an architecture that is a little bit simpler, but a lot more efficient from a price perspective. And so, you know, back then we disrupted the asset tracking market that was terrestrial based, cellular based. Today there's an opportunity to disrupt the satellite based asset tracking market by leveraging our relationship with AST and Bell Canada, AT&T, and we're excited about the possibilities. Anytime you can, bring a product to market that's a fraction of the cost of existing solutions, it opens up huge opportunities. We're now on our 6th generation of product, Keith. We have all the reliability, functions, and features as our competitors at a much lower price point.
And so the company's been profitable now or at least positive cash flow for over a year, with maybe one quarter that didn't quite make it. But with this type of new achievement, how long do you think that takes to filter into the market? Is there any kind of history that your team has that says, okay, every time we get a new technological success, the industry starts to pick it up in X time frame? Is that a fair thing to ask, or is that not really the way it works?
No, it's certainly a fair question. So the constellation of AST satellites is in the midst of being rolled out. And I believe they have plans moving into 2026 to fill out that constellation. One of the reasons AST gets the valuations they do is because as soon as that constellation's filled out and they turn on the commercial service, the revenue is going to start flowing in immediately. And that's the point where we're going to see the opportunity hit BeWhere from a financial perspective. When the constellation's fully deployed, commercialized, we'll have product that's already in the field that will leverage it, that we'll be able to make a little extra money on. But more importantly than that, it's going to open up a variety of industries for us that we haven't played in the past. That could be industries in remote areas such as natural resources, mining, fisheries, industries that typically operate at least a segment of the time outside of traditional cellular coverage.
And many places in the third world
is another one.
Forgive me?
Third world is another one, exactly.
I interrupted you there. You said one other thing. Okay, not to worry. So, Owen, okay, so that's amazing. Thank you. I guess just before we sign off, I'd ask you a couple quick questions here, if I could. You have been a little more vocal the last 2 or 3 quarters about being able to give away the product and charge a higher monthly recurring revenue. How's that going? How is that working? How does that show up in your financials?
Okay, so yeah, we have started. We started a process as of January of this year to allow people to purchase the product under a finance model, very similar to what you would see with, when you're financing a car. So the current structure, the current method that it takes place is that, we sign a client up for a term. They pay us monthly. A portion of that monthly is assigned to the hardware. Because it's a finance and because we transfer ownership, we are recognizing today the hardware up front. And then we have a long-term receivable showing up in our financial statements that you'll see going up as we do more and more of this type of solution. That's one model. That's one way that we've started with. I think what you discussed is, how do you use a new model to drive your recurring revenue? And the way you do that is by renting the product to people and not transferring ownership. And when you do that, you're pushing all of the recurring revenue into a monthly recognizable fee. And that's something that we're contemplating going forward. But it's been going great. We do about 8,000 units a quarter under the finance model. It's received a lot of attention, and it's because some companies, some end users and clients won't have capital budget. And so if you can provide them the solution under an operational budget, it makes it easier for them to procure. And that's something we like. It has been something that we've leveraged our balance sheet that we've grown over the years organically, and we think it's a good use of proceeds.
Right, because at one point in time you had over $8 million on the balance sheet, and then the last quarter you had last week.
That wasn't us, Keith. We have about 4.5 million on the balance sheet today. I think it's been as high as 5.5.
Got it.
And we've started to deploy a little bit, but I think what you're talking about is our working cap.
Thank you.
Is positive to the tune of about $7 to $8 million.
And so giving it away for free with a higher MRR, that's meeting good demand, is what I'm hearing.
That's right. That's right. It's you know, more importantly than that, if clients don't have capital budget, they just might not have an opportunity to buy from us, and we may lose that to a competitor just because they're offering it under an operational budget.
Got it. And FirstNet, that was a big contract back in August. Has that been completely rolled out, or?
Yeah, I believe by the end of September we had deployed 7,000 of the 8,000 unit order from AT&T, and the other 1,000 have gone out the door since. So it was a quick hit. It was, you know, typically we're dealing with longer sales cycles. This sales cycle was only about 6 weeks from the time it was brought up, negotiated to signed and closed.
Why do you think that was?
I think we're seeing demand in the marketplace from first responders for a FirstNet type solution. I mean, FirstNet is a unique offering. It's ensuring first responders connectivity when congestion builds up during a disaster. And so there's a compelling value proposition for first responders to leverage, you know, the FirstNet network and devices and phones that are certified on FirstNet. I think you're going to see more expansion in FirstNet from us, and there's a nice correlation between FirstNet and AST. You know, if the disaster is so severe that cell sites are getting knocked down, prioritized service on cellular won't provide anything to you. AST is that secondary level of backup, in that, you know, there's no restrictions on coverage, and if cell sites are getting knocked out, AST can provide that connectivity through the satellites. All these technologies are converging to provide a more compelling solution to users today than we've ever seen in the past.
Got it. You know, you're going to report your quarterly in almost exactly a month. It's the end of the month here in October, and you're going to be announcing at the end of November.
Yep.
I don't want to ask anything inappropriate, but one thing I'd be curious about is there any particular sector, vertical, industry that you've seen a greater pickup of the product and service this year versus other years? FirstNet being an obvious example, I guess, but
yeah, listen, transportation and logistics has always been our bread and butter, a smart ITS. That's continuing to be a market that is growing for us, and a market that we're going to continue to focus on. But you know, these solutions around FirstNet are opening up markets that we haven't been as involved with as we have with transportation. So, you know, monitoring things like defibrillators, like equipment bags, like medical bags, like stretchers. It's a massive market. There's a real need for it, and our solutions perform well. The other area that we're starting to see some uptake, and you know, in the most recent deck, we talk a little bit about Boeing, but we are seeing traction coming in the airline industry, not just Boeing, the airline operators as well. So tracking airside equipment like baggage carts, like elevators, you know, golf carts in the terminals, construction equipment in the terminals, wheelchairs, those types of assets. So, you know, we think the IoT market is really just hitting its stride. I know it was popular, you know, almost 8 years ago. That's when the capital markets got behind it. But you know, we're seeing the growth in IoT happen today, and sometimes that happens, right? You've seen a big push on AI lately and machine learning, or supercomputing, and sometimes you know, the investor market is ahead of the market of the product, and I think we're seeing AI IoT catch up really quickly, and we're excited. It's a good time to be in the IoT market.
Owen, thank you so much for your time today. Very grateful.
Thank you, sir.